Okay, like with the course, we make a sound recording and a video recording, so you can always re-listen or re-watch the class or this workshop. Now, obviously, you've come here today because you have an interest in yoga. The question is, what is yoga? Yoga is very popular these days. That has not always been the case. But since yoga became popular, much has changed about yoga. Not only for the better. So I make a distinction between modern yoga and traditional yoga. Modern yoga is the yoga that is the result of the popularization and the commercialization of yoga at the end of the 1990s, when Madonna, Sting, and other famous people openly proclaimed their passion for yoga. To make something profitable, commercially interesting, you have to make it accessible to the masses of people. Now, I was initiated into yoga in the early 1980s onwards. There was no commercial yoga, there was no popularized yoga. I'm an old school yogi. And old, of course. You can calculate. Yoga, the way that I learned it, was not accessible to the masses. It was obscure, surrounded by mystery and dogma. So most people thought that yoga is for hippies, for new age people, for eccentric people. So very limited. To commercialize yoga, what they have done is actually throw out all the valuable aspects of yoga. And what is left, generally, is exercise surrounded by a veil of fake mystery. You enter a yoga studio and you say, wow, this is so nice, it feels so spiritual. But generally it's an empty shell based on clever marketing and profitable at that. The popularization of yoga is not necessarily a bad thing. If you listen to how I explain it, you may think so, but actually it has made yoga accessible to a large number of people that otherwise never would have tried something so wonderful. And in the end, people that start with commercial yoga, they become more curious, they do a little research, they try another teacher, and in the end they come to Magic Wand Yoga, where they find the essence, the real contents of yoga. So it's not a bad thing. It makes the entrance to yoga easier for people who otherwise would never have started yoga. And in the end they find their way. Not necessarily to our yoga, but some teacher that teaches yoga more in the original or the traditional way. For me, I've been practicing yoga since 1984, so that's a long time. With the commercialization of yoga, I've been tempted to try and teach modern yoga, but I very quickly gave up. It just doesn't feel right. I'm very passionate about yoga, not as a fashion, as a trend, as an exercise, but because it totally changed my life. And I understand why it changed my life. And it will only do so if you practice yoga correctly. So this is one of the things that I will explain. What is the difference between modern yoga and traditional yoga? But I will explain also what is yoga, what is the meaning of the word yoga. Many of the things that you learn today, most yoga teachers don't even know how to answer if you question them. I dare to say, if you only do this workshop, you probably know more about yoga, the essence of yoga, than most certified yoga teachers. If you pay attention. Let's not sit down. Okay. What is yoga? Please give me an answer. What is yoga?
Well, it is like addition.
Addition?
Connecting.
Connect.
Connecting what?
Between your soul and yourself.
How do you do that?
Yoga is one meditation.
Okay. Yoga. The meaning of the word yoga. Let's just pick it apart. Indian people, when they talk about yoga, they never say yoga. They say yoga. In Korean, that means something else. Yoga. You better don't. But Indian people pronounce yoga as yoga. In English, you have this word. You know what this is? You know what a yoke is? English, like Dutch, is an Indo-European language. There is a connection here. The Dutch word is juk. Juk, yoke, yoke. The ancient Sanskrit word is yuj. They're all the same. If you understand the meaning of the word, you understand the essence of yoga. So the question is, do you know what a yoke is? No?
Like a harness or
Yeah. To do what?
to steer or to like carry something behind you.
Yes. To harness, canalize energy. Wait, how old is yoga?
3,000 years or more than.
What is yoga? An exercise? Meditation?
Yes.
Actually, not exercise.
Yoga is a science. Science of what? It's a science of life. Why do we need the science of life? To control our life, to survive, to understand ourselves and our surroundings. How old is yoga? Many people will say 5,000 years old. But then if you ask the question, how old is Korean culture? 5,000 years old. Is there a coincidence there? So 6,000 years ago, there were no Korean people, no Korean culture. 6,000 years ago, there was no yoga. Where does this number 5,000 come from?
History started. The history started.
Yes, the written history started. We started recording history on script 5,000 years ago. Before that, we didn't know how to write. So written history doesn't go back more than 5,000 years. But it doesn't mean that before that, 10,000 years ago, 20,000 years ago, there was no history or mankind. So how old is yoga really? Yoga is the science of the control of life. Where did it start? It started with mankind becoming conscious. We were animals. From the moment that we started to develop consciousness, what did we do? We started asking questions. Who am I? Why am I here? Why is it raining? What is this red ball in the sky in the daytime and this white ball that changes shape all the time during the night? All these twinkling lights. Why is it cold? Why is it hot? Why do I feel happy? Why do I feel sad? We started asking questions. We started investigating. That is where yoga started. How many yogas are there? I think you know the answer. 50? 100? Only one. The science of yoga. Of course you have branches and specialisms and what have you. Yoga is yoga. And it has to consist out of the 8 limbs of yoga. Yama, niyama, asana, pratyahara, pranayama, dharana, dhyana, samadhi. That is the framework of yoga. Most yoga studios, if you go there, they limit themselves to only one, which is asana, physical exercise. And even that they don't do correctly. Even that they don't do correctly. So I will explain how to do it correctly. Those are private mats. Those are private mats. K-mat. There are some mats in the lobby.
Okay.
So try to imagine this, to go back to this issue. We were hunter-gatherers. We started developing consciousness, and from that moment on, little by little, systematically, we wanted to make our lives safer, more stable, more secure, more comfortable. We settled down, developed agriculture. But this little body, 60, 70 kilo of muscle, is working the field, plowing, bringing water to irrigate, harvesting, and when the harvest is done, carrying the harvest home. Very hard work. Steady, regular, safe, secure, but very, very exhausting. In the distance, the conscious becoming human being, working hard in the field, in the distance in the prairie, sees horses, cows, oxen, big animals, not 60, 70 kilo of muscle, 1,000 kilo of muscle. The conscious becoming human being thought, wow, what is this animal doing there? Hanging around doing nothing all day, eating a little bit of grass, eating a little leaf from the tree branch, and just all day doing nothing, and I'm sweating and breaking my back. What if I can use this big mass of energy, this big mass of muscle, to do the work for me? To be able to do that, he had to do several things. First, catch one of those animals and train them, befriend them. Next, he needed to find a way to use that animal's strength to pull the plow, to pull the cart with the harvest or the water. And that is where the yoke comes from. The yoke is a harness around the neck of the animal, connected with ropes, with leads. It connects to the plow, and the farmer, all he has to do is guide the animal through the field, and the animal pulls the plow, does the hard work. He connects the car when the harvest is done, loads the harvest on the cart, and all he has to do, he can even sit on the cart and guide the animal to go home. That is a yoke. What does a yoke do? Technically, it controls energy. The word harness, it harnesses energy. Energy that otherwise uselessly just wanders around the steppe, around the prairie, at least in our mind. You understand? This is the essence of yoga. This is the foundation of yoga. Now you are not interested anymore because you thought we would do some fancy, mysterious yoga, right? Not interested in control. Who wants to control? We want to be free. The yoga is a science of paradox. You want to be free? You have to control. Otherwise you become a prisoner. A prisoner of what? Your emotions, your instincts. Circumstances determine your life. So yoga goes very deep into the subconscious to help you take control, harness your energy so that you can use it for anything that you set your mind on. So control is not oppression or suppression. On the contrary, because control, suppression or oppression is usually denying something, ignoring something, while this is the opposite. First become aware and then bend it into a direction of your choosing, not determined by circumstances. Circumstances like what? Like with your family, or with your work environment, or society as a whole. Our life is being influenced without our control by just normal daily life circumstances. We're not aware of that. But because of that insight, not only the ancient yogis, but the philosophy from all over the world, but in particularly Oriental philosophy, Hinduism, Buddhism, goes out from the point of view that life is suffering. Life is a valley of tears. Yoga, consciousness, understanding your subconscious functioning, your instincts, your emotions, your desires, leading eventually to control, allows you to turn that suffering into well-being, happiness. Can you see that? most yoga courses, serious yoga courses, the curriculum exists for 70% approximately out of physical anatomy. Right? Is that correct? I'm trained in yoga in the traditional way. I studied yoga for more than 10 years. Not just practice, study. Very deep. I've never found a chapter, not even a paragraph, in any of my yoga books about physical anatomy. Physical anatomy does not exist in yoga. Surprised? Yes?
Presumably it talks about the subtle body, don't it? Yeah.
Yes! You are the first one ever to bring this up before I explain it. Thank you. The subtle body. The subtle body is energy. Yoga does have anatomy, but it's called subtle anatomy, and it teaches you everything about energy. Surprised? You know something about Oriental medicine? Korean traditional medicine? Chinese traditional medicine? It's exactly the same. When you get sick, you don't treat the symptom, whatever it is that is wrong with you. The symptom is the final stage of the disease. What you need to treat is the cause of the disease, which is always a blockage in your energy circulation. Yoga is exactly like that. If you suffer physically, either disease or weakness, you need to take care, you need to treat the underlying energy household, not the symptom. The symptom will disappear if you bring harmony into your energy household again. If you solve the blockage in your energy circulation. That is why yoga is holistic. That is why yoga, any kind of way that you practice it, if you do it correctly, is healing. Any yoga practitioner will always find that they become healthier, stronger, existing diseases little by little, not from one day to another, but over time, gradually disappear, heal, and you find yourself getting less sick than you did before. There are flu waves. 3-4 times a year people get sick with the flu. You don't get sick anymore. Maybe once. You get healthier, stronger. It's not because of the physical aspect of yoga. It's because the physical aspect is only a tool. It's because you restore your energy household. So yoga is about harnessing, preserving actually your most precious asset. And your most precious asset is, in the first place, is energy. And if the energy is correct, your body is correct. So you can say your body is your temple and your body is your most precious asset, but it doesn't exist without a good energy household. But that is why we will not talk about bones, about muscle, about joints, organs, and what have you. We'll talk about energy. And we'll also explain realistic, powerful ways to take care of your energy household, to implement the yoke so that you can canalize your energy. So, human being is like a house. There's a Picasso on this one. You bring the board, you can set it. It's not just a house. It's a house in Siberia. Siberia is very cold, you know that. So what do? After building the house, you install a boiler to heat the house, to make the house warm and comfortable. But it's very cold in Siberia. So you turn the boiler to 10, the highest setting. And still it's cold inside. It's not comfortable, it's not really what you thought it would be. Why? Because it's built shabbily. The heat that you generate, burning a lot of fuel, just disappears, scatters through the windows, which are just single pane, through the roof, which is not insulated, the walls. So you keep burning a lot of fuel, but the house is sick. Normal human beings are like this. Our condition normally is like this. We burn a lot of fuel, but much of it is lost. Not because you are in Siberia. How do we spend most of our energy? Physical labor, physical activity? Most people don't do physical labor anymore. Everything is done by machines. Even you come to the 7th floor with the elevator. You ride a car or a subway. The dishes are done by a machine. The laundry is done by a machine. Everything is done by a machine. We don't spend much energy with physical activity. Then why? If you ask people, many people complain, I'm so tired. And when you are very tired, you also feel gloomy, depressed, negative, dark. But I'm not busy. Why am I so like this? What am I doing wrong? What we don't know is that we spend most of our energy not with physical activity, but with mental activity. We waste, scatter a lot of valuable energy with subconscious thoughts, which are fueled by emotions, by desires, by fears, worries and doubts. You recognize this? That is what is wearing us out. That is the unconditioned house, or the unconditioned human being. Yoga, if done correctly, is a process in which you install not double layer but triple layer panes of glass, where you insulate the roof and the walls. And now you come home, you turn the boiler to 3, not 10, 3. And the energy, the heat, is kept inside and the house becomes very warm and cozy, comfortable. In the human being, that translates in a sense of well-being. The human being that wastes, scatters subconsciously, unknowingly. You don't know that you're doing this, but you waste a lot of energy. It leads to a sense of restlessness, discomfort, lacking health and well-being. We go to the doctor. The doctor may give you some pills, and it won't work. what works, that is what yoga has to offer. The yoke. To insulate, after which energy will accumulate, leading to increasing health, which equals, increasing health equals sense of well-being, positive outlook, optimism. And not only that, scientists, Einstein, to name one, but all scientists know that energy has an inherent characteristic to manifest. That manifestation can be destructive in the terms of depression, negative thought, pessimism. But when you take control, it helps you to do the things in your life that you always wished you could do, but never find time or energy to do it. Can you see what I'm trying to explain? I came to Korea. I did something very unusual. You know why I came to Korea? I just followed my heart. I practice yoga, okay? Because of yoga, I developed an interest in martial arts, which became Korean Hapkido. So the Hapkido gym that I attended brought a teacher from Korea, from Sadangdong, to Amsterdam. And I was very passionate about that. Yoga had opened my heart, and I did just that. After 3 years, he left, and I felt I wasn't ready yet. I wanted to learn more. So I decided to go to Korea. It took me 9 years to prepare for that. I didn't go the next year because I knew if I go now, I'm not well prepared. I will have to come back after 6 months and having not achieved anything. So I meticulously prepared. 23 years later, I'm still here because I meticulously prepared. But what I did, I left behind everything. My job, my family. I was not married, but I'm talking about, I have a big family. I come from a big family. I left behind my family, my house, everything. I just left behind. I came to Korea with a suitcase and some money in my pocket. People think I'm crazy. You think so too? No, I'm a yogi. Because I have so much energy preserved, I can canalize towards fulfilling my dreams. And I came here and I started practicing Hapkido in Sadangdong with my Kwanjangnim, and soon I started teaching yoga. I broke my ankle before my first yoga class. I broke my ankle on a Thursday. I had 9 people signed up for my first yoga class in Korea. You think I didn't go to my first yoga class, right? I went there on my crutches. I taught my first yoga course on crutches. Just put my bag on my shoulder, slung my bag on my shoulder, jumped into a taxi, Sadangdong to Annamdong. I refused to give up. People think I'm crazy. No, I'm a yogi. And ever since I developed that ability to control and canalize my energy, miraculous things have happened. Now I have 2 dogs. You know about the dogs? Have you seen my dogs? Pata and Bobby. Nobody wanted them. They were born in a park. 4 siblings, born in a park. Then they were taken to a shelter after 4 months, living in the wild. Then they were separated in the shelter. Pata was adopted by a family in Seoul Daeipgu, Seoul National University. After 4 days, he ran away. He ended up in the park here next to my house. So I saw him, I looked him in his eyes, and I thought, it's destiny. And all the other people that I know from the neighborhood, everybody talked about this dog. It was on Naver, it was on the chat groups. Nobody took action. So I went there every day with my red backpack, with food, with fresh water, with snacks, just trying to make friends with him. But what I didn't know at that time, he never experienced family life. So he enjoyed my food, he bonded with me, I felt that, but he never allowed me to touch him. I couldn't put a harness on him, take him home. After 3 months, I became very frustrated. He started crossing the road into the apartment complex. It became dangerous. So I borrowed a cage, pohet too, a trap. I borrowed a trap, put all kinds of delicious food inside, and caught Pada. Why do you do all these crazy things? I sometimes ask myself. If I hadn't done that, I would still regret. Anyway, so I took him home. Then, from one thing comes another, I found out that he has a sister who is still in the center, who's dying. He ran away because he missed his sister. His sister after he was adopted, she refused to eat. She didn't play anymore. They didn't know how to handle her anymore, so they just left her in her cage 24 hours a day. So when I found out about her, even without seeing her, I already decided they need to be together. I called, made a visit. They made me visit 5 times, and then we came home. And they were so happy. Crazy. But it made me so happy to see them being happy. It's destiny. I go to a shop, I see doggies for sale. It doesn't touch me at all. Sad. But this was a match made in heaven. And out of that come other good things. People know, the people from the neighborhood, the dog groups that we have, they know I'm single, I'm alone, and a foreigner, not in my own country. Don't do that. People advised me not to adopt Pada. And when I came with the idea to adopt Bobby, his sister, they thought I'm totally coco loco. And now they admire, they see, wow, they have become so nice. So what's next? I already know what's next. Just amazing things are happening. What I'm trying to tell you is that is what energy does. Scientists know that if energy scatters, it doesn't manifest. Nothing good comes out of your hands. So what do? You dutifully go to work every day. You dutifully fulfill your duties to your family, to your society, to your work or school or whatever. And you feel frustrated that you cannot make any time or energy, effort to do those things you really want to do. And that is what, if there is energy available, apart from the things that you have to do, the obligations, the responsibilities, the duties, you start looking at other things. Maybe you choose to do a new study. Maybe you choose to change jobs. You will start following your heart, doing things you really love to do, things that make you happy. It doesn't make life easier because many challenges come onto your path, but those challenges are your teachers. They make you grow and develop, and fill you with happiness. Can you see that? That's what energy does. That is what yoga does if you practice yoga correctly. And why I'm so passionate about yoga, real yoga, is because 99% of all the yoga doesn't do this for you. 99% of yoga is like any other exercise. It's movement. And I'm not saying that that is bad. I like exercise too. So I walk a lot with my dogs, 3 times a day. One of those walks, at least one of those walks, is a long walk. I like to ride a bicycle. I like to sweat. But yoga is not that. It's good for your health. It's good for your well-being. but it's not conserving and canalizing energy. That is what real yoga does. Everything is energy.